This is the TRT Community Podcast, where we discuss all things testosterone.
Hey guys, this is Brandon with the TRT Community. Thanks for listening. Today we're talking about how to find a new doctor. I know I keep teasing HCG and testosterone in the same syringe. Some of you are interested in that, but I opened a poll on our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/TRT Community, and how to find a doctor / how to know when your doctor, when you should change your doctor was the overwhelming favorite. So I may do this for a while, just until I have a better idea of what you guys are wanting to hear. Because this way, at least I know that a large number of you want to hear this. First, I'm going to go in, I'm going to kind of guess if you have sought treatment, I'm going to guess how that might have gone for you. So let's say at first you were feeling run down, you're feeling tired, fatigued, you're unable to focus, maybe your gutters haven't been cleaned in a couple of years, you've got no drive within your career, no ambition, you can't play with your children, or if you're like me, you had to take a nap every day after work, and maybe you're experiencing sexual performance issues. So before I get into it, I wanted to say that I did an episode fairly recently, and I talked about how TRT has been subtle for me. The experience, the effects have been subtle. During the episode, I kind of came to the realization that maybe these things aren't so subtle. Maybe it's way more impactful than I realize. And then on top of that, I went without my testosterone for about 3 weeks, maybe longer, because of a pharmacy error. And I'll tell you what, I felt like trash. There was no doubt in my mind how many, I'll say this, it seems like if the benefits are subtle, there are so many subtle benefits that they compile into this like one massive issue when they're gone. So for the past few weeks, I have felt terrible, worse than ever, needed a nap. I had tons of stuff to get done. I managed to get through it, but I felt physically ill. It just felt terrible. So anyway, back to the story. So a common experience, this is what I'm guessing has happened to you. You went to your doctor, probably your primary doctor, and you said, hey, I'm feeling all these symptoms. I read online that maybe testosterone replacement therapy is for me. What do you think about running some lab work? And your doctor probably said one of these things. You're too young for low testosterone. Let's say you're 35. You're too young for low testosterone. Or I've heard maybe he said something like, oh, look at your beard. Your facial hair is too thick. You don't have low testosterone. What? So anyway, if you were able to convince him to run labs, maybe your results came back around 400. And at your follow-up appointment, he says, hey, patient so-and-so, your testosterone is 400. The range, is 250 to 1150. So you are within normal limits. And so you're normal, and there's not a whole lot that we can do. In fact, there's nothing that we can do. I recommend you lose some weight. Or even better yet, he would have said, yeah, you're in the normal range. So maybe you request a copy of your labs, maybe you don't. But when you do, that's when you realize that you're, 3 to 400. I will say this. I have never heard from a guy that was symptomatic that says that he went to his doctor, ran labs, and came back in the 700-800 range. It just doesn't happen. If you're symptomatic, your testosterone is going to be low, and it's going to be in that 3 to maybe 500 range, and your doctor's probably going to tell you you're normal. So I just posted something on Facebook the other day that was some research that I was reading that was basically indicating that, from age 12 to 13, your testosterone levels should be this to this. From 14 to 15, it should be from this to this. At age 16, it should be between here and here. And all of these are, below 1200. And then within At age 17, it should be, between 800 and 1200 at 17 to 18, sorry. And then at age 19 plus, it should be X to Y. The problem I had with it is that we are, as a society, we're literally comparing a 19-year-old's testosterone levels with a 90-year-old's testosterone levels. And we're saying that anywhere in between is normal. That is absolutely absurd. The fact, and a lot of you guys know this, but the fact that I, as a 35-year-old, am compared to my grandfather at 75 or 80 years old really frustrates me. So I know I've said this before, but this is why I started the TRT community, because I wanted to be able to dispel the rumors or debunk the myths to help guys connect with doctors. This is what I'm doing currently. On our website, trtcommunity.com, we now have a list of preferred providers. You can go on there, you can search by your geographical location, you can find the doctor that we recommend in your area. They are brick and mortar doctors for the most part. Some of them may use telemedicine within their own state, but you can set an appointment. They are hormone experts. They will help you. These clinics and doctors have been personally vetted by the TRT community. You are in good hands with them. So I urge you, if this story so far, kind of fits what you've experienced, get on there and see what we've got going on. But if you're a new listener, I get it. You don't know me. You don't trust me. So why would you take my physician recommendation? That's fine. A quick tip for anyone, whether you trust me or not, a quick tip to find a doctor would be to Google compounding pharmacies in your zip code. Call them up, ask them which doctors are sending in prescriptions for HCG, and then contact those doctors directly, because if the doctor's prescribing HCG, there's a good chance they're either treating women or they're doing TRT. I also want to touch today on maybe the top five things that will tell you that you need a new TRT doctor if you're already undergoing treatment, in no particular order. But number one, if your doctor is prescribing injections every 3 to 4 weeks, that's one of the most common things that we hear about and one of the most detrimental. I mean, we all know that when you start taking exogenous testosterone, your natural production shuts down. So when you do, and the cypionate, which is the most commonly prescribed testosterone ester in America, it's got a half-life of 7.5 or 8 days. So whenever you inject and you're waiting 3 to 4 weeks to have your second injection, that's a medication that's designed to be injected weekly. It's got a half-life that's a week. That means that after 7 to 8 days, you've got half of what you originally injected readily available within your body. So by the time you get to 4 weeks, you're dead. I mean, you feel terrible. And I'll tell you, from my recent experience, at about week 2, I started feeling terrible. By week 3, 3.5, I didn't know if I was going to be able to function anymore. So 3 to 4 week injection protocols are awful. Every once in a while, and I used to say that if it's anything more than a week is terrible, run away. Every once in a while, a 2-week protocol will work for some, but I don't necessarily agree with them. I say weekly or more. Number 2, if he wants your levels to peak at 500 or 600, it's probably a good indicator that he's not very well read. He's not up to speed on the most latest protocols. First of all, you should really be measuring your trough, your lowest point. So you always want to do your lab work, unless you're trying to figure out something very specific. In general, you want to do your lab work at your lowest point, which would be injection day before your injection. And even then, if a doctor has a problem with your trough being 500, I think that's pretty crazy. I keep my trough in the 600 to 800 range. Most guys on TRT want to be around 900 or 1,000 at their lowest point. I just get too many side effects at that level. So I find that, 700 is perfect. I don't necessarily need an AI. I don't have acne. I don't experience any of the negative side effects. Number 3, if your doctor doesn't mention HCG in any capacity, you probably need a better doctor. Or if he does mention it, or if you bring it up and he tells you that he'll need to send you to another doctor, that's probably also an indication that he's not really up to speed on what's going on. I hear that a lot, that My doctor's okay with me doing HCG, but he wants to send me to a urologist for the prescription. Well, if your doctor really knew what he was doing, then he would know that it's absolutely necessary, listening to the last podcast episode, that it's absolutely necessary for you to function, for your HPTA to continue to remain in balance. Number 4, if he tells you that you need to stop TRT to conceive, he probably doesn't know what he's talking about. So if you're not on TRT yet, then you should probably know that once you start exogenous T, you could have fertility issues. HCG will alleviate that in most cases, vast majority of cases. But if you're not already on it and you know you want to start, but you also know that you want to have a child soon, I would maybe consider attempting to conceive for a while without TRT if you can perform. But if you're already on it, HCG will do the trick. So doctor says stop T to conceive, get out of his office. And the last thing is if your doctor's not checking your estradiol levels, your E2, or if he's prescribing you an aromatase inhibitor before your lab work indicates you need it. So I see that quite a bit. Makes me angry. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of elevation in your E2 if you're not experiencing side effects, and especially if you don't have lab numbers indicating that it's high. Stop taking anastrozole. It's a potent drug. It's just not. It's not worth taking if you don't absolutely have to have it. So anyway, those are I guess I'll call them the top 5 red flags for TRT providers. That's all I had today. As always, just kind of hopping on here with a little bit of quick information. Again, check the website, trtcommunity.com. See if we've got a doctor in your area, if you're looking for a doctor or if you think you might need a new doctor. Thanks for listening, guys. See you next week. I know I already said goodbye, and this is kind of weird, but I wanted to jump back on and mention I just found a pretty cool tool. Go to speakpipe.com/TRT community. If you want to leave a voice message, we could play it on the podcast. I could answer your questions, any topic that has to do with testosterone, or I guess any creature that creates testosterone. If it's a manly comment or question, go for it, and we'll see if we can get you on. Speakpipe.com/TRT community.
Thank you for listening to the TRT Community Podcast. You can find us online at facebook.com/groups/TRT Community.